Okay, it is 6:30, we've got quorum, and so that you can get to your baseball game on time.
Thanks.
Let's get started now. So I'll open the meeting, it's at 6:30. So I've kind of changed, I forgot to approve the minutes, so Jacqueline has given us the minutes for the April 25th meeting. Oh, you just gave them to me, huh?
Yeah, well,
Okay, they were in the, they're in the folder.
Yeah.
The April 25th.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
because at the May meeting, that was the town meeting, we didn't
Right.
approve minutes. So
Right.
I want to go back and approve the April 25th minutes. If you want to, you've got a set.
I do.
Yeah. You want to,
I looked them over
You
before.
looked them over?
Yep,
Okay,
yep,
Keith?
all set.
you want
Did
to look
see
them
it?
over?
I think I saw it already, but
All right. And once you've said, yeah, they look good to me, then I think your name is still on that one, so you can sign it. So I'll entertain the motion.
so moved.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, say no.
Except for the other one.
There's a vote. Next, we have the minutes from the May 15th meeting, which was the annual town. I don't know whether you've seen, that's the minutes from that meeting. Yeah, Richard. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Ruth? Opposed, say no. That is unanimous. And we are done with the minutes. And then, I'll go to Jacqueline when we're done.
All right.
All right. So next on the agenda, I had the committee organization. So what I've done over the last couple of years is that first meeting after the town meeting, because sometimes we'll have a new member, is open it up in case somebody would like to sit in this chair, okay? If they're so inclined. I will tell you, I enjoy being chair. I'm willing to keep doing this job if that pleases the committee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you'll say that because you're vice. And you're gonna move up,
That's exactly
So-
right.
So I will entertain a motion then to, or can I just let it go and just not have elections, right?
Yeah.
Just let it go, okay. So I'll stay chair, you'll stay vice?
Sure.
Okay, then we'll keep that going. But I do want, like I
Unless
said,
anybody
I
else
do
wants
want to
it.
at least make the opportunity available.
Well, Ruth, do you want vice at all?
No, I don't.
No? Okay, just thought I'd check, and I don't want
I've already talked to
I
her.
am way too
Okay.
new.
And you actually have, no, actually, you have the second most experience.
Oh,
You came
thanks.
on right after me, but then I thought you were leaving, and that's when I.
Yeah, I'm
realized
back.
that was-
Right,
so, I think we're good.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
So the next thing I wrote down, and this I kind of changed a little bit, this is the, a meeting schedule for the year. We did this last year. We did this last year, set up what we're going to be. Hey, Mike?
Apologize, everyone.
So everybody congratulate the new chairman.
And just like that.
How much is that gonna cost me?
Come on, Mike, you of all people know the old adage, don't show up at a meeting.
I know. I couldn't actually get in town hall. It was like the fifth door I checked.
So that's yours. That's yours. So this was, and I updated it for 23, 2023 and 2024. So this was kind of our rough schedule for this past year, right? Not that it's cast in stone, but this gives everybody a feel, okay, for when these meetings are going to take place. And you can put it in your calendar, and if something comes up, somebody needs a last minute emergency, we can always meet. But the only thing I don't know is when the special town meeting might be.
So we're probably gonna do an early meeting this year, so it's actually gonna be before your 18th. We're gonna try to do it for the
Really?
enrollment. Yeah, we're gonna do it on a Wednesday, maybe. That's our tentative date at the moment. We keep going back, we have a lot of vacations. There's 4
Yeah,
people we
11,
gotta
yeah.
coordinate with.
Yeah, okay. It might be that up there.
Yeah, the town clerk's on vacation for like the second half of October.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
Kathy's on vacation early in September, then I'm on vacation in November, and you're on vacation at the beginning of October.
The first week.
So we're trying to like coordinate between the 4 of us.
We all try to coordinate so that we're not on vacation at the same
Same time.
time, but then
runs into
But
finding
all
mutual time
September,
to work.
October?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But see, the way they figure it, it's 4 people, 8 weeks, they will never overlap.
Yeah.
Right.
okay?
So I
So why
think
don't
the
you just
top-
shut the whole place down for a week, okay, and you all leave
Take
at the same
vacation,
time?
I know we should.
The tough part is finding that time period after we know we'll have free cash certified.
Right.
Before we need to have the tax classification hearing. So
Right.
that gives us a 3-week window. so-
Yeah.
Gotcha, yeah.
It's not much time.
Yeah.
Right,
So we're
so-
shooting for October 11th, which is a Wednesday. It's the Columbus Day week, so we couldn't have Monday, it's Columbus Day.
With the hope that by September 26th, we will get our free cash.
My goal is to have it certified by the very beginning of September again.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
I should be done with balance sheet by middle of August.
Mhm.
That's my goal.
All right, so there's not something we have to vote on, but it's just something to throw in your file. And then on the other side, actually, we'll get to that in a minute. Those are the things that we've talked about. I went through all the minutes. The next thing was review our goals. Okay. Because this is something, yeah, we're supposed to do annually. And then on the other side of that is the,
Thank you.
you have enough?
Yeah.
Do you have one?
I'll work on it with Keith.
It's just on some of them, yeah, I put the budget on the other side. I didn't know you'd have the budget ready for us, that's all. So these are the 11 goals now that we've come up with over the years. You can see we reviewed them, we review them each year. I don't know where we were, 21 we resumed. So it's maintain the stabilization fund, dedicate. Now it's funny, as it says here, our goal is to dedicate the first 10% of free cash. And if you read that report that I sent to you, the financial policy,
Mhm.
it says reserve the first 50%.
Yeah.
It's in there,
Mhm.
okay? So there's a couple of places where you've got a policy book that doesn't match our goals.
Right.
We'll have to coordinate those as we go, all right? But if we're comfortable with this, all right, we're gonna change the policy book to match our goals.
Mhm.
all right?
So what have we done in years past?
We've been pretty good at least that first 10%. I don't think we've missed a year yet, Andrew, have we?
No, we've been really.
We've been very, very good at that.
And our target's really been to
Main-
get to 10% of our operating budget,
Yeah.
Right.
and which we just got to.
Yeah.
So-
Right.
And we
Yeah.
just, Andrew and I are just upstairs doing the math. We need like another 94,000 to get us to 10% again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's not bad.
Yeah,
So,
that's not bad at
Yeah.
all.
Which kind of leads into a little bit of our kind of plan discussion around the, the capital plan. So looking at where we are year to date on, or where we are right now with our capital stabilization.
Oh, by the way, budget is on the backside of that piece of paper.
Looking at what we should use as like a target for this year in developing that capital plan.
if you want the big
I'd
one.
like to try to not exceed what we have in that capital stabilization. So that way, which right now is at 758,000.
Mhm.
So if we look at essentially our one-time pay of what we take out of free cash, I'd like to try to, before we even know what the free cash number is gonna be,
Mhm.
I'd like to use that as our benchmark number.
Okay.
So that way, we could potentially take that from free cash this year, and then, again, try to reach that goal of 50% of free cash, assuming it's 1.8 million, I think we felt comfortable with using
Yep.
as like a projection. And then,
Wait, so you're projecting
Yeah.
1.8?
it's kind of what we're using.
It's
That's
just
like
where
our-
the
that's
number might
that's like
come
our
in.
average. If you
Yeah.
look historically,
Right.
it's about
Yeah.
our average.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're saying the first 750 of that?
750.
Yeah, so he's saying not to surpass what we have in capital, which is about 750 right now,
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
almost 760.
yeah.
But so to, out of this capital list, take 750,000 of it and do those capital projects
Yep.
with free cash.
Yep.
And then to put, we were saying maybe like 200 into each stabilization and then 50,000 to OPEB and then save the
And I
rest
guess
of
that's
free
where
cash.
sometimes I get hung up on the semantics, because free cash to me is to me, the certified number in September.
Correct.
But you've used the term free cash for money in the current budget not allocated.
No, that's.
In this year's budget, you're saying? Or
Even in
just-
last year's budget, when we were talking about
That's a
funding the
component,
school,
right.
for instance, okay,
Yeah.
the feasibility study. 275 or something from the
Yes.
ARPA money.
Right.
And then the other money was from free cash.
Right.
That we didn't allocate.
So that's what we were just talking about, so that was FY 23's free cash. I can reserve that to fund the budget, which
All right.
isn't a
But
good,
that, all right, and this is where I'm losing the definition of free cash. That's not the free cash that was certified the year before.
no, what,
It
it's
is.
free
it
cash that
is.
was certified for the close of FY 20. It was
Okay.
FY 22's money that was certified in FY 23 that we had left over.
Okay, had
that
left over that we hadn't
spent.
allocated at the October meeting in '22.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's how you start the fiscal year.
So it's not a good habit to get into to balance your budget with, because remember, it's one-time revenue, but we did it for the feasibility study as a one-time.
Right, yeah.
That's it.
No, that I get it. It just, sometimes I guess free cash just kind of confused me.
Yeah, so free
is it
cash is
certified
this-
free cash, or is it, no, free cash is
Free
always
cash
certified.
is always certified,
It's
you
always
can't spend it
certified.
unless it's certified, yes.
Gotcha.
So we'll have FY 23 certified free cash in
Yeah,
September,
yeah.
and that will be for spending in FY 24.
So you project 37 million in revenue, you bring in 38. That $1 million is not free cash.
Well, it would be.
It's just excess revenue.
Well,
Could be new
And then it will be certified.
Has to get certified,
Right,
yeah.
it's, right, you're right.
Could be new
It's
growth,
new
yeah.
growth.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, in accountant's terms, it's not free cash.
Yes,
until it's
so the
certified.
only way to get free cash is if you have leftover money that you haven't haven't expended, so any excess
Yeah.
expenditures that haven't been spent, or any extra revenue that you didn't count on for budget. So like you said, if you brought in 38 million, but you only budgeted for 37, then, but it still has to get, still has to get certified by DOR. Yeah, they're the only ones that can certify
Okay.
free cash.
So, sorry, Andrew, you
Oh, no.
continue, I just wanted to make sure I understood.
No, essentially, it's just kind of as a general framework of what we're looking at
Yeah.
for this year, it's essentially that if we can try to limit it to what we actually have in capital stabilization, because if all things go wrong, we at least have a capital stabilization account that could match that, that funding and still not be a blip in our,
Yeah,
in our plans.
yeah.
And then, as far as, and let's just say, for some reason, things go haywire at state level, and they don't certify our free cash in time, hey, we still have the money to actually fund our capital plan, move forward, and then when it is certified, we could pull that money back into capital stabilization and
Right.
go on without saying, oh, sorry, we have to wait until spring to everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha, okay.
And then we were thinking of spending 200 and 200 into each of the each capital and stabilization.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you put 50,000 into OPEB to get us, because we didn't fund the full portion of it
Mhm.
in the budget, that would leave us with a cushion still, so it leaves you with about 50% of your free cash left in reserve
Yeah.
In
until.
free cash that you could use either in the spring or roll to the next year.
Yeah. Yeah, because, yeah, making sure we fund that OPEB and now the pension plan, okay?
Right.
Yeah, that was down there, where, number 4, actually, was the next one. Okay. But that's how you want to approach this year?
That's the general framework, how we
Yeah.
want to look
Trying
at
to
it.
set ourselves up to upgrade our bond rating, we have to go up to bond rating.
Yep. All right, and then review the financial audit once a year, once we get that, and that comes out sometime in August or
No, it's usually not till like January.
till January the following year.
Yeah, so like so I have to close the books for FY 23, and then they have to come out here and review everything.
Yeah,
And then they have to do some field testing, and then usually by the time I get a management letter, it's like January.
yeah. So that is in the audit folder in the Dropbox. Makes for some interesting reading. I think that the management letter is more pertinent than the actual audit itself, the numbers, okay? Because it's in the management letter that they'll pick up and say, hey, we think you should do this, or you're lacking in that, okay, or whatever. So take a look at that. I think it makes for interesting reading. Meet with the department head starting in January. Meet with the Board of Selectmen at the beginning of the process. And that's why I had down there, meet with the Board of Selectmen sometime in September to see what their capital ideas are too. So we can get this on this, we can all be on the same page.
Right.
Entering that meeting. It worked well at the last meeting, okay? We were all on the same page, I thought. We all, budget went through with no problem. complete the annual town budget, this is all on Ashley, by the first Wednesday of May, okay? So that we're not doing this at the last minute.
Yeah, heck no.
Okay? Then meet with the Board of Selectmen, like we did, go through the final budget and the warrant, do what we're gonna do. This was something we had talked about a while ago, and you've had all board meetings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we did it
September.
yeah, right before.
The start of the
Special
whole.
town meeting weekend,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, we want to be a part of that, to attend that when we put that together. Again, there's that, review the management letter, and then review these goals once a year. Anybody got any ideas on what we may want to add? What we may want
So
to...
if you don't mind, Henry, I just wanted to go through the calendar really quick.
Yeah.
So, starting at number 3, maintain a 5-year capital plan, there's no
Yep.
specific, no specific target time of the year that we work
No,
on that.
no, but if we're gonna talk about a capital plan, let's say in September, right? It's, yes, for the coming special town meeting.
Yeah.
But at that same time, we can take a look at the whole 5-year plan and see how that fits.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we usually look at capital too while we're doing budget, because everyone submits their new, like,
Right.
they'll re-up their capital, all the department heads will re-look at their 5-year capital plan or 10-year capital plan every November, December, when they submit budget. So they submit you their capital request for the current year that we're looking at for budget.
And then it
when
might
they
change
submit
a
their
little
budgets.
between that.
Yeah, between what we
But
have in September and then what we get
A
back.
good example of that is, look at the fire department proposal that they gave us. If you open that book, I mean, the chief's got 10 years
He
out
goes-
there.
I think he goes 20.
He might even go
He
that
goes
long,
far.
okay? He's really got it planned out.
Yeah.
You know, if all the departments could do as well as he did on that,
Yeah.
he should give lessons in it. I'm just kidding, Chief. What's next?
Number 6, select board at the start of the budgeting process.
Right.
Precisely when is that?
So if we're gonna have our budget hearing
Yeah,
sometime
budgets
starting
are-
in January.
Budgets are due to me by
If
December
you look at
31st.
December 20th,
Yep.
meet with the board.
Okay.
For item number 6.
Okay.
And department heads are due to give me budget by December 31st, so that's perfect.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
All right, so no other changes, no other additions anybody wants to make to our goals? I think we pretty much set out what we want to do. I'll entertain a motion that we accept the new goal, or accept the goal sheet as presented.
Second?
No, I
Oh,
don't
so
make
moved.
motions.
Oh, you make the
You-
motion.
you
I
make
make
the
motion,
motion.
sorry.
You make the motion.
So moved.
He seconds.
Second.
All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed say no. It is unanimous. So I will write down there revised on
7/12.
7/12. 23. And as a site guy, I'd say we're doing pretty good on keeping close to our goals.
Mhm.
I think we said this is what we're gonna do, and we're doing it. Okay, so now on the back of that, on the back of the schedule, so I went through a bunch of I went through the minutes for like the last 6 months.
Past items, past meeting items.
Oh, what, did you get a blank one for some reason? Okay. So what I did is I went through the minutes of the last few meetings, and wrote down just a bunch of stuff. There you go, Ruth. Wrote down some stuff that we talked about, and I just wanted to put on a piece of paper and bring it back up and say, is it something we want to keep talking about? Is it something that is moot now, or how do we want to move forward with it, right? So if you look at the list, some of this occurred during the budget process, and we talked about a building facilities technician. And when Kurt was before us, he was heavily in favor of that, okay? So is that something that we want to do? Is that something that, do we set up a little study on that? I wrote down here, has the selectmen reviewed the building? Remember, we made that recommendation to the selectmen like 2 months ago? Tell me they haven't, okay?
They didn't.
All right. They,
One
obviously
of
they
them.
haven't, all right? Shame on you guys, right? So, we will write a letter to the selectmen,
Okay.
formally asking them to review, okay? And we'll get that done, right?
Do you
Because
want,
if they raise some more cash.
do you want us to write it?
Huh?
And then do you want us to write it or?
Oh, I'll write it.
Okay, and you're gonna send it to us?
Yeah, you guys have enough work to do. I'm retired.
Just a little busy.
I'm retired. And then the second part might be to get started with, and I'm not saying that we're gonna get this all accomplished in a month, okay, or 6 weeks, but get an inventory of our town buildings, right? What do we physically own that needs to be maintained, right? Highway department, police department. You don't have to put the fire stations down there because we know about those buildings. But maybe that's just the start, okay? And we may look at that and say, yeah, this works, and maybe get Kurt in here and get his input, okay? Kurt, here's the 9 buildings or 14 buildings or whatever, what do you think? And I guess I'm looking at, if we spend the next 6 months doing this, maybe this will be next year's budget, one of the next year's budget items. We'll look at hiring somebody for next May to get it passed by the budget. Again, I don't expect this kind of stuff to get done in a short time frame, right? We also talked about a townwide vehicle mechanic. And maybe to get started there, an inventory of the town vehicles. You looked at me with a,
Yeah.
So we have one.
Yeah, I think we're not as keen on that as being a
priority.
priority.
Okay.
Yeah. Just based off of the amount of, I think, the labor that you save versus the actual time, materials needed,
Mhm.
I don't think
Yeah.
necessarily pan out.
Yeah. Well, as I was thinking about it, I'm saying, there are certain pieces, like, you wouldn't hire a regular auto mechanic to work on a fire truck pump.
That's the
right?
problem, yeah.
Yeah, right,
You need a
with
special.
diesel engines, we've
Yeah.
got diesels, we've got gas, we've got, probably propane. So, right, excuse me, right now, that's a low priority. So let's not spend any time on it. The land use department assistant. And I know that that's, again, something that Kurt was pushing, that we heard about, okay? I think a few of us saw the benefit to that, but unfortunately, at the time, it was one of those things that had to go because of the school. Should we take that one back up? I don't know whether you guys have had discussions with anybody in,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the function is needed. It's the, where does it go?
Like real estate wise?
Real estate wise.
Yeah, we have no room in this building where,
We could, and again,
Person.
it's like a chicken and the egg type thing.
Yeah.
Like, well, maybe we should look at building out the space that they could go first, and then potentially fund the position.
Right.
Mhm.
So that way it functions the way that we want it to, and not just, we'll hire a person, we'll shove them in a back closet, and then when we decide to finally build them an office, then it'll
Right.
actually work, and hopefully
mean,
they're still here by then.
I don't even think we have a closet to put them in.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Well,
Yeah, you have to put somebody in the hallway. I mean, there's no room.
no, but what Kurt, he had showed me one day in his office, right in
Yeah.
the front.
And,
Right.
and that's it, is.
So do we put that budget together, Andrew, to say, all right, if we spend $30,000, we'd have space,
Yeah.
right?
I think that's priority one, is create the space.
Right,
Priority
create the
two
space.
is
To fill it,
position.
yeah.
All right, so that still has a higher priority than, say,
Yeah.
the vehicle. Okay.
But I would almost put the facilities technician
Right.
higher than
As number one.
all of that, so that way their expertise is leveraged in the design and execution of the building.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, makes sense.
Yep. Another thing we talked about, or as part of the budget process, is the deputy chief of police. Again, I'm not advocating one or another, I'm just bringing up topics that we talked about, and, is it something we want to keep talking about?
Now, there's gonna be repeated requests for some of these positions.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see him
Just gonna
again.
drag around.
You'll
Yeah.
definitely see that one again, because he comes in my office and asks me probably like once a month about it.
And then right along with that was, he gets the grant to buy all those cameras, and we get this phenomenal number to store all the information, okay?
That number, I think, came
It's
down
come
like
down
vastly.
significantly.
Like, it's like a quarter of what he originally came to us saying it was. It's not, I think it's like 25, 30 grand. I think he's just gonna pay for it in his budget.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's good news.
Yeah, so that's no longer a capital item.
yeah.
Oh, all right.
So let's scratch that off this list?
Yeah, because
As a discussion item for
Yeah,
us.
because he got the grant. I think he's just gonna do it within his
Yeah,
operating.
I'm not here trying to advocate one way or another, just make sure that things don't fall off the
Yeah.
table that, hey, we
Yeah,
talked
that was
about,
all
and now we
set.
forgot about it, because unfortunately, that's what happens. Excuse me, an update on the fire substation?
Yeah, so right now, we are at, we're almost at the full schematic design. What it'll look, of kind of where it'll look like, where it'll go. The next phase that we're just waiting on now is the final estimated cost and the response time analysis. And some tweaks that they got from the committee. So right now, our plan is to kind of really present something to the Board of Selectmen in August as far as what we want to move forward with. Very tentatively, it looks like the cost will be around $12 million for the building. And so at that point, it's going to be a matter of going on the public, campaign of getting the support for the project. Ideally, I'd like to try to target the fall meeting to get a loan authorization in place to move the project forward. And if a debt exclusion is warranted, to do that in the spring. So at least that would give us the winter to further push the plan forward, and we'll come up with some preliminary funding mechanisms to say here's outside the levy limit. Here's maybe how we could do it within the levy limit, but try to make sure that the project moves forward regardless.
Okay.
And what's the location?
Right in front of the middle school.
Oh, all right.
So if you know where the driveway is, essentially what is being proposed is where the Charlton Middle School sign is, that parcel on the left side would be essentially the location for the substation. It's about 12,000 square foot building.
All right, so that's later on down the year.
Yeah, so, yeah, August, and that'll be probably the time that we try to blitz as many people as possible and say, this is the point.
Right.
Here are the metrics around it. I think the biggest selling point about it is with some of the preliminary numbers we've seen on the response time analysis so far is that the average response time in town would actually be reduced by 2 full minutes by having a station on
Both sides of Route
on both
20.
sides of Route 20, one by the school and one over here. So not only is it just a benefit of saying, oh, we're gonna have a nicer fire station in town, we're actually providing a tangible benefit to the resident by, at a lower cost than where we were at with the public safety building or any other fire station before, of saying, this has a direct impact on the residents rather than just the first responders.
Right. And you could almost make the argument that maybe your insurance rates will go down just a little bit because, hey, the police, the fires.
They're right there.
It does make a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
It can make a difference. All right, so that's an update on that. And I'm sorry, I got this check code going, so if I cough a lot, I apologize. I don't have COVID.
We're beyond that.
Any of that other stuff. So I wrote this down, this investment policy with the new treasurer, because it was in that report.
Yeah.
It was in the auditor's report.
Yeah.
And then when somebody raised a question about how come we only made $40,000 on 16 million in cash?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we just actually, the very end of the fiscal year, because I was like, I want my interest rate, my interest now. We invested the 3-month treasury bond at, I want to say like 4% interest. So we got that for June, and then we reinvested that for 6 months. I think almost at like a 5% interest for 6 months. So I got her going over there, so she's gonna start investing
Okay.
some money over there.
You're a little more comfortable now?
Yes. She's still nervous about it, but I'm like, you're fine. So she actually reinvested the new one by herself. I didn't have to go there and help her.
Okay.
So she's doing much better. I think she just gets nervous if we run out of money. And I was like, look at all the money that you have in here, you're fine. And she gets nervous with the school payments, because of how often they happen.
Yeah.
So I was like, there are times when we get real estate payments in, so you're fine. So just, I had to go through and show her.
So she's
could-
still adjusting to the cash flow
Right.
situation.
She's just, I
versus
think,
how
gets
much money we have.
nervous.
Huh?
That, she just gets nervous that we're not gonna have enough to pay bills. I'm like, we're fine. Because the way that, it's just like the big, because our warrants usually aren't that big until you have like the school payment, we have debt payments too. I think it's just the timing of all that, so I made her like a little list of when all of our stuff's due.
Yeah.
So that helps her out. I was like, it's all timed with when we get real estate payments, and that's why it's the way it
Yeah.
is, so. She's been doing much better.
Good, okay.
That was her weaker side. She could do the collector side with her eyes closed.
Yeah.
So, getting there. She's doing a good job.
All right, but with that kind of cash, we should be making.
Yeah, I want to say, and then she just redid another CD, because we had a CD that wasn't much, it was like 260,000 with Rockland Trust, and we just invested it with a local bank that matched what a big bank was doing for us,
Mhm.
so she invested that on her own, and then went in and we reinvested, I want to say like 3 million
Mhm.
with, in a treasury bond with our, they're called Bartholomew, they do all our trust funds, but they also will do general fund money,
So, one question I would have is, being a municipality, do we have different rules for how much money we can
Yeah.
lose if a bank goes under?
So, you are still federally insured, just like everybody else
Yeah.
is, so you can only have so much money at each bank, that's why we usually have multiple banks.
Okay,
So each bank can only have so much money in it.
gotcha.
Is it the same 250K that?
It's,
regular?
well, it's more.
It's bigger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we are a municipality.
Yeah, I wanna say it's like, depending on which one, but like the local banks, I think usually are 750. I think credit unions are smaller.
Mhm.
But I wanna say banks are like 750.
Mhm.
But like the bigger banks are more than that. Just-
Okay.
But we do have to watch some of sometimes where our money sits, because some of those banks do have smaller, like
Yeah.
the smaller banks have smaller FDIC percentages, so. Yes, they watch all of that for us. If we start getting close, we move money. They'll let us know, like, hey.
They will?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And then there's all laws about how we can invest money and everything too. There's
Yeah.
a master law that tells us how we
Yeah.
can and can't do that, so.
Because I think that an investment there were two things you said we were missing. One was an investment policy per se,
Yeah, in the OPEB policy.
and the OPEB policy.
Which we do have an investment policy.
Right, it just wasn't in the book, or it wasn't in the booklet, so we may have adopted it,
Okay.
but not included it.
I'll
We just
have to
have
look.
to-
Yeah, let's check and make sure.
As I was just comparing it to the document you sent, those were
Yeah.
just the two that were missing from the
Yeah, I thought we
guys.
had one,
Okay.
so I'll have to look.
I just
But
want to make
we
sure
might
that the
not
next
have an
time we
OPEB one.
review our investment policy, that we don't get dinged for that, or.
Right,
there's
yeah,
a
that's
footnote.
what we were just talking about. I'm gonna go back and look to see what they dinged us on,
Mhm.
so we can start preparing, because if we are gonna go out to bond, and it's only when we go out long-term, so if we just do small bands for the fire station, we're fine, but when we go out long-term to borrow for it, then we have to go out and get re-rated. So I
Mhm.
wanna make sure that we're prepared for that, so try to start the process now, so I'm gonna go back and look.
These are things that I pick up when I read the management letter. It says, hey, watch this,
Yeah.
do that, or
Yeah.
whatever. That's the
Yeah.
kind of thing that you pick up.
Yeah,
And then the last one was, a review of the OPED and pension unfunded liabilities. I think OPED is about 6 million right now.
yeah.
And I don't know I never saw the pension number. They
The
don't-
pension number is whatever is at Worcester Regional. We're not, well,
We might get dinged on it, but we have no control.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. No,
I think they're
It's a-
43%
Yeah.
funded.
Yeah, they're
Right.
high.
Yeah, it's 43% funded.
Right, right. But what's our contribution?
Well, they set a whole, like this year it went up a lot. We're over 2 million now that we give to them. I want to say it was like
2 million
2.2.
per year.
It was-
That we give to Worcester Regional, yeah.
Yeah, it was, 15% increase over.
From
prior
last year, yeah. So whatever we funded in budget was the total amount that we had. That was like 2
Right.
point.
But we're not gonna find that line, a line that says pension liability, because isn't it gonna be each individual department's?
Well, no, so there, if you look on the budget, at the very end of the budget, where like health insurance and all that is, it's the group 900 section at the very bottom after debt. There's a Worcester Regional amount in there.
Mhm.
And if you look, that's the amount that they tell us that we owe them, so we just budget for that and then we pay them that dollar. It's every July
Right.
1st. So that's what we owe them. You'd have to look at Worcester Regional's report to see what their unfunded liability is, and then
Yeah.
I think there's a section in there for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we couldn't give them extra money just to say, hey, we want to be in a better position than
Right.
everybody else.
Right, we can only give
Yeah.
them what they tell us to give them.
Oh, okay, that's kind of where I was.
Yeah.
Going with that.
It's not like OPEB where we can just put whatever we want towards it. They tell us what we owe them and that's all we can pay them. We can't pay them anymore.
Right. And if they have to be solid by 2040,
Federal, they have to have a plan to be fully solvent by 2040.
right.
Yeah.
Whether or not they reach that goal, that may be more or less a
Right.
40-year goal.
Right.
But they'd probably step it over the years. They wouldn't say, oh, by the way, here's a bill for $2 million, $3 million.
Right, well, so like even, this past year, they gave a one-time increase to all their retirees, where they normally just get like a 2% COLA on the first, like 15,000, it's not much. And then, they just upped it this year to give them an extra 3%, so it was a 5% total COLA increase.
Mhm.
We didn't pay for that this year, it will be like, in another 5 years, that will come up, and you'll see a
Mhm.
big jump in our,
Mhm.
payment to them again, because they have a schedule that is set by, it's the same OPEB auditor that we use, it's by KMS Actuary, so they go through and they do all their, and they set out a plan, and this is what you'll owe us for the next 10 years, and then they go through and they redo it, and then we get a new 10-year or 5-year, whatever it is, and then that's how they tell us, so like we won't see the effects of that until,
Right.
so obviously there was something that happened 5-10 years ago that affected this year, is why we had a big 15% increase.
Yeah.
So if you look back how many years ago, there was a vote where they must have increased something, and it was like you paid it over time, and it was probably this OPEB.
Right, 2000, it might have been 2008 when they were offering retirement. So
Yeah, so it's like you don't see that hit right away.
Yep.
And then they laid out what the extra 3% was gonna do over time, but
Yeah.
you're not gonna see it probably until like 2028 or 2029.
All right, so maintaining, I realize not too much we can do in the pension, but maintaining that OPEB.
Right.
Is,
Yeah, that we
to
want to
me,
stay
that's a high
aggressive.
priority.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we really want to try to stay aggressive on it. I
Yeah.
think if things, one thing we almost want to have in the back of our mind is, trying to really get to that full OPEB liability and not even have to worry about almost like getting to the 10% of stabilization and just putting in the
right.
Right.
little bit each year to maintain.
Yeah. Yeah. So at $6 million and 250,000 a year, okay, we got a
Right.
few years to go.
Yeah.
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 Okay. All right, so again, those are things that I picked up from the minutes over the last 6 months, and just want to make sure that we were covering our bases.
Henry, is there anything we can do or need to do for like the #1 priority, the facilities technician?
We're going to ask Andrew to put together, or somebody to put together the inventory of buildings.
Yep.
I'd like to see that, and we're going to write that letter to the Board of Selectmen and say, up the fees, because I just feel that that would help pay the salary of, that's where I'm seeing that those fees can almost self-fund this position. As much as I don't ever want to get into the position of, hey, I raised this much, so I get to work this guy. No,
Right.
we'll never get to there, but,
Even just the money that you're probably gonna save in being able to do maintenance on the buildings, to like check, okay, this is about to leak, let me go up and seal this roof, so it's not failing in another year and we have water pouring in the building. Like even just, I think even just that, you're gonna save so much money on having somebody go up and do maintenance, because none of the department heads go up on a roof and go look to see what's leaking until it's leaking. And even then, they're not going up there calling somebody and saying, hey, my roof's leaking, can you come find out why?
so if you're looking for an action item, what would be our action item for the next meeting? Would be to write the letter and get the inventory.
Okay.
That's what I would like to have done by September. And again, if
Who's doing that?
Huh?
Who's doing that?
I'll write the letter, and Andrew's gonna put together
I
with
think we
Kurt
probably already
the
have
building
that.
inventory list.
We'll
All
find the inventory.
Yeah.
right? And that way, if we take little bites every time we meet,
Right.
right, come next May, we'll be ready to say,
Value
we
number.
want this included
Yeah,
in
okay.
the
Yeah.
next town budget. Okay?
You could say, yep, we have 5 buildings.
Right, how
These are
much?
5 buildings and what inside those buildings. I
Right.
think that's more or less is what's the value number of,
Yeah.
a value of X
Yep.
do we need to account for?
Yep.
Obviously, you don't need to know every pen and pencil.
Right.
No,
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 just make
but,
it
and then
yeah.
maybe after that, like, we could ask Ashley, go through what everybody has spent on building maintenance.
Yeah, I
over
can
the
run
last
you a
year,
report.
Okay? And if we find out, hey, we spent $3 million on building maintenance, maybe police, see, there's one place where you're not gonna see one line item.
Right.
Building maintenance.
Yeah, that's
It's gonna
in
be spread out
everyone's.
over all these different departments. So that might be another action item.
And this is also the topic we discussed last year about third party.
Right.
About going to, because this is like textbook property management.
Mm-hmm.
Is it cheaper for the town to just basically farm it out?
Right.
Because, if you've got somebody, you want somebody that's checking all the roofs and just checking all the lighting and all the coding and stuff like that. Is that a 40-hour per week job with the existing buildings, or do you farm that out?
Right.
Right.
Again, step by step.
Yep.
We'll get there. Yep. Anybody got anything that they want to talk about as far as general discussion? All right, next I had on the agenda, just a quick review of the 24 capital expenditures. So you have in front of you both the one I printed out and this nice color one that Jacqueline printed out for us. Do you want to run through it real quick? The current, not.
Yeah, I mean, this is really kind of just pulling where we were, when everybody had submitted way back in
Right.
January. So
Right.
obviously, subject to changes, we kind of more or less press people on, where do these things currently stand?
Right.
I know at least cemetery mapping, they had indicated they were going for grant for that program, so we want to follow up to see if that grant was submitted, or if they're looking to push that out, or if they're conceding to request capital funding for that one.
Cemetery garage, they've been after that
Yeah.
one for years.
So they were trying to they were working with Baypath to try to get them to give them a price estimate and design. And I guess things kind of fell apart a little bit because they couldn't fit the program into their schedule of work. So now they've come back to us that we're now just putting it out to bid for an architect to do the work under the $25,000 that's already been appropriated. So we may or may not actually have a cost estimate in time for the fall. So this is probably going to be a lower priority.
Yeah.
And maybe pushed out until the spring. Until we know. Mower replacement, that's, just to confirm that. Open space and recreation plan, I know that's a grant that's been submitted, but we're due to have it refreshed. It needs to be done every 7 years, so
Yeah,
at
we
least
have
put
no
capital,
choice.
we have to at least move forward with it, so we'll keep it in the capital plan. If we end up
Yeah.
getting the grant, great, we can pull it off.
I want to say, is that a matching grant?
In-kind matching, so. as
Oh,
long as-
okay, we have to pay for it ahead of time and they give us the money back?
As long as our
Or-
staff is involved with it, I think, there's community volunteers involved.
Okay.
That actually comes off the in-kind match.
Oh, okay.
DPW excavator and Silverado, I think those taken off their 5-year plan.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to confirm that with the DPW director, make sure that those are still the priorities.
And what's gonna happen is you're gonna have a new DPW director in there because Jerry's retiring.
When does that take effect?
End of August, middle of August?
Middle of August, he's retiring. We're in the process of screening candidates currently.
Yeah. So whoever comes in, that's gonna be their first
Just gotta
priority. What do you
revise
need?
all of this.
Pick one,
Yeah.
or pick two.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Just go back up real quick, I put in here the community center. I know that they're still in the feasibility phase of that. I just threw a quick placeholder in there 2 years from now that we could potentially take some action on it after we get, that is a project that is going to occur after the fire station. So that I've been kind of trying to clear that out, that this project doesn't move forward until that fire station is done. So we reassess where we stand, but I just want to get it in there. Again, back to the fire station, our hope is that we get ourselves in a position that we can at least go for loan authorization in the fall, move the project forward, and then go to full bore. We take any subsequent action in the spring, but at least get the project authorized now.
And he said he has nothing on his
Yeah.
thing for this year, so he's good.
Yep. So he's all set.
That library, fire pond, cistern, pipe screen replacement, she's been on me to do their fire suppression pond that's in the back needs to be looked at.
Relined?
Yeah, I think it needs to be cleaned out and they need to replace the screen in it so that it doesn't get all the crap into the pipe. So that needs to be redone because that's been failed and I think they got hit on that on.
Yeah, for their safety inspection.
Yeah, so that needs to be done. She wanted to do it this spring and I told her no. So she's gotta wait until the fall.
We had some other pressing issues. That
Yeah.
She had two other capital items that had already been authorized that she
Right.
hadn't moved forward on, so we to make some progress on those.
Yeah.
So,
And then we pushed her, the roof gutter project out for the other half of the building out another year because they're still working on the current one that hasn't been started yet. So we're waiting for them to start that before they do the front part of the building, and the front part of the building isn't that bad, so it's not like it's leaking, so that's fine for them to go out another year.
Town hall improvements, you might have a different number than I do. I pared it down a little bit from, I think I had 150, I wrote 50 down. We've invested heavily in the police station, and fire station over the last few years and kind of neglected this building, so we kind of have a running tally of stuff that we'd like to try to do, including that reception area that we had talked about, potentially for the land use coordinator.
So that was gonna be my question, that part of that
Yeah.
idea number.
Yeah.
We also, the renovation of the basement around in the chip-in area, potentially reuse some of that space to give us some more space to work in. And then just the chipping exterior paint, there's some roof work that needs to be done, so it's just kind of some general maintenance stuff that's beyond our normal operating budget that we'd like to try to get on, but at least have a deeper maintenance account to start plugging away at some of that stuff. Police department.
He's got a laundry list.
Yeah.
I think
Some
his,
wish, some-
yeah, I think his was more like a, hey, this is everything I would like to see happen. If I get a couple of them, I'll be happy. Obviously, the cruisers really aren't an option. We'd have to replace those every year.
But yeah, building electrical upgrades. He's kind of put out as a futuristic goal, wanting to redo the parking lot. It is in need of getting done, but it's also that balance of saying he also does need additional parking spaces.
Yeah.
So do we just pay what's existing or try to design additional parking spaces on the footprint we have? What's the right way to, what's the right way to move forward? I want to throw $500,000 after that one, so.
Right, because I think
Chip
his
it
thing
in
is,
all at once.
well, I think his thing is he doesn't want to pay to pave it and then in another year have to
Rip it
rip
up.
part of it up, yeah, to
Right.
put new spots in, so he
Right.
just, if he's not gonna be able to expand, obviously it needs to be done, but if he's gonna be able to expand in the next year or two, he might just wait
Mhm.
and expand and then pave it all at once.
Mhm.
But if it's like 5, 6 years out, he might have to just pave it to get by.
So will they go out and hire an architect to take a look at that? or-
That's what
Probably
I
have
do.
to, yeah.
We have.
To find out where the best space is, because there's a lot of wet over there.
Have an engineering firm to see if we can fit another 10 spots in there somewhere without impacting any wetlands, breaking the bank and putting up huge retaining walls. Let's see.
The computer replacements is normal.
Yeah, that goes with
Stuff, yeah.
that goes with the cruisers. I think the plate readers and the traffic camera monitoring, those were kind of more or less wish list items.
Yeah.
The drone that he had on there, I think he found some grant funding, or he got some grant funding to actually purchase that.
He might have just purchased it with whatever he had remaining too from this year.
Okay.
K-9 station upgrades, I think, was a line item we wanted just in case there was necessary upgrades that needed to be done to support their K-9 division.
Mhm.
They're a whole force in themselves.
Yeah, right.
And then 3 cruisers. that should
Yeah.
be their own.
I know.
Computer network replacements, that's just to stay in line with our plan of continued upkeep.
Yeah.
The landfill monitoring, so this was something that we had to kind of finagle within the budget that we took out that $300,000 that was
Mhm.
in there before for monitoring. It's more or less, this is looking like it's gotta be more or less long-term
Yeah.
support with the landfill monitoring versus just one-time hits when it was originally put in
Right,
there.
so the problem is he has to have a plan set in place and he has to have dedicated money to it. And what was happening is I was putting in the budget and budget money goes away. He's like, well, that's not gonna work, because he thought, so he has FY22 money still left over. He came into my
That
office
it would
during,
roll and-
he came to my office, he's like, oh, so I'm okay, like, I can still spend this, and I was like, no, that's, at FY23, that money's gone. He goes, wait, what? So I had to explain to him how it all works, so I said, well, let me take it out of budget, and let me put it, give you a capital item, so you can encumber what you have left from 23 to get you to October, and then that will bring you to the end of FY24, and then this article money will bring you, and you'll have dedicated funding, so you don't get yelled at by the state.
And that 370 will last how many years?
Oh, probably. I mean, they've been using it to do PFAS tests. Well, between PFAS testing, now the things that they found with PFAS testing now have made them have to give more people water, plus all the mowing up there.
Yeah.
So
The landfill's becoming a pit.
yeah, depends on how much PFAS they find, how much the state wants to keep pushing us to keep testing. Yeah, so it could last us. I want to say he encumbered anywhere from 100 to 200,000 from FY22, and he still has that left. He has like maybe 50,000 of it left, 25,000 of it left, so it'll last us maybe 2. Depends on what they have to do, but he has to have dedicated money in it, and it has to get mowed, and we don't have a choice, so,
We'll
and we
get them through a
outsource
year.
all that.
Yeah, we'll get them through a year and then we can reassess.
Yeah.
And then decide if we have to continue.
Yeah, and
to
hopefully
fund
at
this or
some
not.
point we can just have it and then
Yep.
Right.
be done.
Or run water down there.
Yeah, or something, yeah.
The schoolhouse number 2 matching funds, so we ran into this one when we applied for we've done a action plan for some to essentially rehab the number 2 schoolhouse for the Historical Society. It required a matching amount that we did not have dedicated, so unfortunately we had to pull our funding, but there was actually some great support from the state to actually want to get the project done.
Mhm.
So we pulled the application with the intent that hopefully we could put some dedicated matching funds to the side
Mhm.
in the fall, reapply in the spring, and then have that project move forward next year. So that's what that $50,000 would be for.
Yeah, I remember Kurt came a few years ago looking for some money because that building is in tough shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the one on North Side?
Yes. And the ADA Maynard Field, I just have that as a blank right now. I'm still working with them on the final scope of work with Recreation and McClure. There's been some debate as to whether or not to move forward with bringing water and sewer utilities down there, but I think that would make I think we've all agreed that it would make the project almost twice the cost of what it would be just to address the ADA upgrades. So we're working through the appropriate plan to essentially address the ADA upgrades first and within budget. So right now, I don't think that we'll need any town meeting authorization for additional funding, but I just want to hold that line in case their plan changes over the next few weeks, because we'd like to go out to bid at least by late fall to have an early spring construction, so that way they're done with those ADA upgrades by the time fall rolls back around next year.
Andrew, what's the estimated cost on those ADA upgrades?
So the ADA upgrades is probably about I think it's figured to be about $250,000 between renovation, or a new snack shack, and then all the parking lot upgrades to at least address the pathway issue. If we went to full, making the snack shack with bathrooms and running water, just the cost to get the running water and then the sewer out there was about $850,000.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
This is for Maynard.
Well, at least brings that project cost up to about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Can't just drill a well down
It's
there?
Well,
too
then
bad
I
it's
kinda
so
threw it
close
up
to
there
the
to say,
Burlingame Road School.
Hey,
I know.
ideally, we could run.
Well, we were
it
gonna
down there.
tap,
Could
that's
we?
even like tapping off
Yeah.
from the activity center up here. That's not like bringing a whole new line down either. That's just tapping
a-
into the building up here.
Yeah.
So it's less copper,
Mm.
or no copper. You
Yeah,
have to
that
run it.
that might bring the cost down to $750,000,
Yeah.
but it's still a significant amount of cost to then treat, or then send it out to the sewage system, because
Right.
it's about 800 feet to bring the water down, and then another 800 feet to go cross-country through the wetlands to go down to Burlingame Road to tap into the sewer system.
Build
So-
a septic tank, build a septic system.
I
Under the field,
asked to
it's
see
a
if
baseball,
that is
football field.
yeah. After we got those costs, I asked to see if there's a feasibility to do that and if it would lower the cost. And I haven't gotten an answer back yet, but we'd like to. Right now, there currently is no water down there, so if we want to remain what's currently status quo, it's probably $250,000.
Right.
You know, because to do a public well,
Yeah.
public water supply, I don't
Right.
think you have the real estate.
And it's hard too, because it's technically not, like, we don't run the snack shack. We don't really, we'll own the snack shack, but we don't run it.
Isn't it the same deal though as at Centerfield where we have a snack shack and that's the town's, right?
But that,
It's town, yeah, I mean,
it's a hairy, it's
'Cause
a
when I
hairy
was-
area.
I
the
remember-
town is not receiving a financial benefit from
Right.
No,
the
no.
use.
For us to
So-
spend almost $1 million to bring all that down there, it's like,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Those
At
are
what
one
point
of
do we
those
come back to
town
ask?
attributes that
Yeah.
draw people to town
Right.
because you've got a nice field for the
Right.
kids
Right.
to play on. So
Right, right.
sometimes
It
you
could
bite
still
the
be a nice
bullet.
field, we'd still provide nice upgrades, but it
Right.
just wouldn't have the running water.
Right.
So
Right.
is there another way, right now we get by without running water.
Yeah.
Can we
Just-
give you a nice shed and plan that in the future we could potentially get
Right.
running water?
Yeah. Okay.
and
But
we
address
still
the
address
ADA.
the ADA issue, so we don't run into that again.
Yeah, step by step, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm.
So right now you're up to 1.4 in requests.
Yep.
But wait, we have the 758K in the stabilization, so how's this gonna work out?
So I think we could probably pare this down significantly and get essentially our use of free cash down to about 761. You know, and then looking at a few things, like I think the landfill monitoring, we may look at raising and appropriating depending on how high new growth comes in, because we've gotten some good reports so far where that is, so that may be something to look at. And then a few things that may be saying, all right, these are clearly projects that aren't gonna be able to progress in next year because of where they stand, and pushing them off.
Right.
Oh,
And this is where between now and then, whenever we have that meeting, you prioritize it in your own head and come to the meeting and say, I think this is important. And Ruth might say, no, I think that's important, and that's when we'll thrash it all out.
The idea too is we want to try to reserve capital to have that plan to be able to fund the fire station within the levy limit
Right.
in some way, or at least take a good portion of it and dedicate it within the levy limit and say, yes, we do still need an exclusion, but we'll not be asking for the full project with the exclusion.
That's when it all comes down to marketing,
Yeah.
how we can market.
Yeah, I would like to at least debt exclude the project, and then if we don't need to pay for all of it or any of it outside the levy, at least you have that to fall back on, because who knows where the schools are gonna be or where we're gonna be in the next 10, 15, 20
So
years.
how about we just take the last 10 minutes here and bring us up to speed on the schools?
So, as we stand right now, we're a little bit at the mercy of what happens in Dudley, but it seems pretty clear that at least the schools have a plan to get a budget through at what has currently been approved by the school committee.
Right.
Which is $2,000 in total less than what we had approved. So our assessment.
200,000.
200,000
Less, yeah.
So our assessment from what was approved has dropped by approximately 100,000, maybe 30,000, just based off the way the calculation is. We're in limbo until either Dudley passes a non-contingent budget that funds the school, or a district town meeting is held to adopt the budget. And I think my feeling is that, I know Dudley has a town meeting with the school number as non-contingent, but still going for an override in case, as a backup anyway, in 2 weeks.
At the 24th, I
24th?
think it is, yeah. And then their override vote, they're going back for another override, I wanna say
Yeah.
August 10th.
Yeah.
So they have it's a pick your own.
So they have a
A
town
la carte.
meeting
Yep.
Yeah.
prior to
Yes.
the
Yes.
election vote?
So they're having so I don't know how they're thinking, but I think we're thinking that they don't want this budget just forced on them, so they'd rather set a budget now, because it's gonna get, more than likely get forced on them anyway. So they're gonna have a budget with the town number, cut everything, and that's gonna be their budget, and then they're gonna go back for an override, and it's like an à la carte override, it's like the school, and then each department that needed an override, it's like a separate vote.
But then having one with the school, so that if the school passes.
Right.
They
They can use
fund the school.
Right, and then fund their
make the
budget.
cuts on their side.
Yeah.
Now, you guys do know they disbanded our school building committee?
Yes.
Yes.
And.
I think that feasibility study, so us, I think is
Really?
dead in the water.
Yeah,
Failed
yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause they failed.
And the superintendent outlined in the last email he sent to us a few weeks back that they're running into deadlines that they're missing. So they
Right.
basically have to start the entire process over.
They're gonna have to go back into, yeah, so I don't know. I have to call DOR and ask them what that means. So we funded free cash into our budget, which I don't wanna balance our budget with one-time revenue. So because our budget is a town meeting authority anyway, so that's fine. It's just the free cash portion. Because I think the only way to use it is if you use it within budget, and I don't wanna balance a budget with that money, so I wanna just get rid of it.
And that's what we're talking about, depending on what's required, we
Right.
may use that for the landfill monitoring.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
because the numbers are pretty close.
And I think because it's the prior year, it needs to go back and get recertified again.
Yeah.
So I think it's just limbo money until the end of FY '24, unless we use it for a budget item, but I don't wanna add that landfill money back into the budget, because it closes, and that's his whole problem. So unless we just say, hey, we'll take it and we'll buy cruisers with it, it's one-time capital anyway, but he's just gonna need to know that he needs to use that money by the end of the fiscal year, like, who can spend their money the fastest, I guess, and maybe I'll
Yeah,
just give it
right.
to them if we wanna do it that way,
Mhm.
so it's already there, or we just say, you know what, we'll just take it and close it, and we'll have a cushion for next year.
Mm.
So I have to call DOR and ask them, because we've never funded our budget with free cash, so,
And it doesn't sound like that feasibility study can happen in the next year or two.
no. I think they have to go
Yeah,
back
long
and
Because
do
if they
term.
put us at the bottom of the list, like,
That's
And I
it.
it could
think-
take us 5 years to
From
get
what
it.
I
David, how do you
understand is we
think
get a
it'll
big
go?
ding too, because now we don't have a full support from both communities, so I think you
Right.
get dinged on that, you kind of go to the bottom of the pile.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah,
That's how I
they're not
took
gonna-
it.
They're not gonna waste their time going back to the town of Dudley who doesn't support this project.
Right, because it's
Right.
all part of the MSBA, so they have other communities that are in full support of wanting an MSB, so if they now wasted their time trying to get us to be on support, I
So-
think we go back to the bottom of the pile again.
So imagine if the 50-year-old building that is the high school all of a sudden needs capital repairs.
well, it's got
And we now
Yeah.
have
It's
no
absolutely
state
gone.
funding to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
So
now
they're
it's
gonna come
be,
directly to us for 100%.
right.
Mhm.
No-
Well, I don't think they're gonna come back and ask for a building, but they're probably gonna ask, they're gonna have to
Well, they have to maintain
tape
it,
it.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna have to put a Band-Aid on it for now.
We're still responsible for 53% of the
Percent of
capital.
Of whatever
Yeah.
they need. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And the first thing they're gonna ask for is a new heating system.
You think so?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Well, the
yeah.
roof, right? Didn't we
Yeah.
just,
He-
oh, that was
Well,
middle school.
the middle school, yeah, so
That was-
to us, that project is still moving forward, I don't know,
No, I think they're doing it this summer, right?
yeah, I haven't heard anything different, so.
Yeah,
He was
they're
supposed to
working
call
on
me
it.
one day this week, but I haven't heard from him yet.
I was just saying that because of all the things I saw,
Yeah.
that was the worst.
And you know we're gonna have a new principal there. I don't know if that's who you meant was gonna call you.
No,
Okay.
the school business manager, he's like my co-part over there.
Okay.
No, I think the new middle, I thought it was elementary school's getting a new,
And the middle school.
Oh, they're
Dean
both
Packard
getting
went
one.
to
Okay.
BPAS. Yeah, you know that, right?
Yeah, because Cliff retired.
Yep, yep,
oh, Cliff retired?
Yeah,
at BPAS, yep.
yeah, they lost 4
Good for
people
him.
all at the same time.
Did they?
Yeah.
That's gonna be us.
Including, yes.
Yeah, because our deputy fire chief's retiring, our assistant assessor's retiring, and Jerry's retiring, so our DPW's, we're losing 3
We'll be
people.
busy.
All within like
You need
2 or
Indeed.
3 weeks of this.
Indeed,
Yeah.
we do.
Yes, right, so we have a plan for assessing, so assessing's full, but they're working on trying the other 2 now, so
Mm.
that's good.
All right, so that's the update, and then the last 2 items were, well, and you pretty much gave me the finance director update and town administrator update.
Just working
I don't
on-
think you've got anything else?
No.
Once July
Okay.
15th hits, I'm full bore at getting free cash certified, that's like closing my door, locking myself away until I'm done.
Now we're past the fiscal year, I just picked this up again.
Yeah.
All right, we're.
I know, he came in my office the other day, he's like, have you looked at capital? And I was like, no.
Hey, time to start looking at capital.
Yeah, I was like, no, I've been looking at numbers so I can close. Trying to look at where everyone's off, to be like, hey, you need to do budget transfers, hey, you need to do a budget transfer, you need to do a budget
This is the part where I
transfer.
start getting real annoying and saying, hey, do you have an idea what free cash looks like?
Yeah. I'm like, nope,
Hey,
haven't even
So,
looked.
Jacqueline, what we're gonna do is, when you do the minutes, right, let's at the bottom, get into the habit of putting action items.
Okay.
So we got the 2 that we talked about tonight, right?
The
And that way,
letter?
that will always be in our
The letter and then the town building.
right?
Inventory info.
Inventory.
And the building inventory. That way, it'll be easier to track what we
Okay.
said we were going to do for the next meeting, okay? If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, and discussion. Anybody want to sit around and bullshit for everybody else? You'll get to your game.
I
All in
will.
favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes, say no, it is unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you in September.